Today we're going to talk about 5 must-have conversations with your data scientists. And I think the first conversation I would encourage you to have with them is to make sure you understand terminology, what they're talking about. For a moment, we're going to talk about accuracy. So imagine you've got a project where you're trying to model how many people are going to be infected by coronavirus. And you ask your data scientists whether they've identified everybody who did catch it in advance, and they go, yeah, we did that. You go, great, we've got a successful model. Actually, the way they may have done that was simply said, everyone's going to get it. And therefore, they captured all those that got it, but they also captured an awful lot of people who didn't get it. So you need to be quite precise about the kinds of questions you're asking, and make sure that you and they are speaking the same language. They're going to talk in terms of things like accuracy. They're going to talk in terms of things like recall. And you need to make sure you understand those, and that your stakeholders also understand those terminologies. The second point, which for me would be, understand with your data scientist why you're planning to model the data. What's the purpose? What are you trying to achieve? So if we go back to our COVID example, if you're trying to understand exactly who will be infected by COVID, you need a model that is exceptionally precise, that it's going to get right those that will and those that won't. In other words, you can't have false positives and you can't have false negatives. If, however, your use case was different and you wanted to work out which people you need to protect because they're at risk of being infected, you might be willing to accept more false positives, because it'd be better to have false positives than not to capture those people at all. Of course, what you need to look out for there then is false negatives. You don't want to be missing people. So make sure you're having those conversations with your data scientists and translating layman's language into language that is meaningful for them, and vice versa. Third point I would raise with the data scientists is one of spot checking. Quite often in my experience, data scientists don't want people checking up on them as they're working through a process and they're learning and they're experimenting. It makes them feel uncomfortable. It makes them feel a little exposed to criticism. But I think it's really, really important that that dialogue does happen, both to make sure that the data scientists are actually doing exactly what you want them to do, but also to ensure that there are other inputs. And what I'm trying to bring into that is empirical inputs, life experience from people who are not data scientists. So ask other people in the business, perhaps a friendly customer, to spot check some of the outputs that the data scientists are producing. And you'd be surprised actually what that adds to the richness of the conversation. The data scientists might be focused on a very academic and a very scientific methodology, which is completely fine, and they're the experts after all. But you also need to bring this back into the real world and think about how you could apply it, and is it working in the context that you're trying to use it. What's also interesting there is sometimes things spring out of those conversations that nobody really thought about. Somebody might be looking at that and go, oh, that's really interesting. Perhaps I could apply that in a different way. To the fourth point, we're going to look at how you can get the data scientists or your broader data team to work more collaboratively and ensure that they're delivering solutions in the least complex way possible. One of the challenges I've often seen in working with data scientists is if you present them with a problem, they will try to solve it. They're committed professionals, they'll try to find an answer. It's quite possible there is an easier way to get to that answer. So try to encourage within the data function as a whole that all the data disciplines are working together, that they're talking, that they're sharing ideas, perhaps in stand-ups, perhaps through show and tells. Then when you have a problem that you need to solve, present that to the entire team and say, who do you think is best positioned to deliver this? And quite often that will be somebody else in the team, not necessarily the data scientists. And then you can allow them to carry on doing other work that they're better skilled for and is more appropriate for their skill set. That brings us on to the fifth point, which is about enabling and empowering your data scientists. I've often seen within organizations that a conflict arises between data scientists and what they want to do and the way the business may be directing them, or perhaps an IT director may be directing them. And that can cause a lot of friction. And quite often the data scientists become frustrated in that sort of environment. Again, they are highly skilled, they know what they're doing, and they're really keen to get on and do it. So have a very, very open conversation with them and ask them, how can I help you? How can I empower you to deliver better outcomes for the business? And this is always going to be striking a balance between their desire to experiment, to explore, to learn, and the business need for monetizable, rapid outcomes. So again, have that conversation, make it really open, listen to their frustrations, and where possible, try to address them.